Now, if history has taught me something, it's that property prices across the years always rise. They will definitely rise in the long term. So why the sudden panic in the short term? Well, other than this year being an absolute pain in the for many of us with the inflated house prices, it's making it impossible for many people to own a home, forcing others to pay higher rents as landlords are being squeezed by the government, and just sapping the idea of ever getting that 3-bedroom house with a white picket fence just seem impossible. But what I will say before I begin the points on this video, yes, I will explain why I believe it will crash, but I will also say that if you are investing in property with a short-term mindset, i.e. you're thinking of doing it only for a few years and not really planning your goals for the long term, then you're probably in the wrong game. And also there's a lot of nonsense going around saying just buy it now and wait. I don't agree with that as well, because if you do buy at the top of the market, which I believe we're at right now, and we get a dip in a few years, then it's going to take many more years in the future for you to really see some benefit from that property, unless you're happy to just keep your money in there and benefit from the cash flow. So before I begin with the points for this video, I want to mention that since writing up this video, Boris our pal has reached a Brexit deal. So I'll be adding a few more pointers towards the end of the video, which hopefully will be of help. But I also wanted to share an important fact with you all before we jump into this list. And that's that 67% of you watching my videos are not subscribed. And yes, I've been informed that that's a sin. And what makes it even worse is that the process of subscribing takes 3 seconds, and that's even if you're slow. So, okay, now let's get started. So the first point is the government is pumping money into the economy, i.e. making more money. Now, I remember a story that my old history teacher told me, which I won't quote because I don't remember it in too much detail. But what I did take away was that there was a time in history where people were having their wages taken home in wheelbarrows. And actually it was the wheelbarrows that were worth more than the actual cash. Now, we aren't quite there yet. Plus we can probably just transfer our money rather than take it around in wheelbarrows. But the fact still remains. Money is becoming less valuable, and the basic economic principle of more supply reduces the value. So if your money is worth less and house prices continue to rise as they are, then common sense should tell you that it's going to be more difficult to buy these houses. And if the houses aren't affordable when listed or offered on the marketplace, then guess what? People can't buy them. Common sense, right? The second point, unemployment. Now, I've spoken about this a few times. People are sadly losing their livelihoods on a daily basis. And we're also in a strange time where being an engineer isn't as lucrative or as safe as being maybe a storyteller or a digital marketer. Now that should instantly tell you how much the marketplace and the world around us is changing. And for many of us, if we haven't been given the time, or we just haven't taken the time to recognize the way that the world is changing, maybe we should start now. Because what we're seeing to and probably reacting to at the minute is a huge rise in unemployment, and the skills that we thought were valuable aren't necessarily that valuable anymore. Because let's face it, if people don't have jobs, they can't buy houses. Point number 3, repossessions. Now, since March, mortgage lenders have been offering payment deferrals to customers and buy-to-let landlords, especially where COVID-19 had impacted their ability to meet their monthly mortgage payments. And over 2.6 million payment deferrals have been approved to date, with just under 140,000 still in place at the end of October. Alongside this, there was 74,850 homeowner mortgages in arrears of 2.5% or more of the outstanding balance in the third quarter of 2020. That's 5% greater than the same time last year, which again is a crazy statistic. And I think the total, there was 24,860 homeowner mortgages with more significant arrears, representing 10% or more of the outstanding balance. Basically speaking, it's a mess, and we're experiencing some really crazy times. But if you want to read more about that and just get your head around what's actually going on, I have linked the article in the description below, which hopefully you'll find of some use. And with everything that I've just said, this is going to cause prices to tank, at least in my opinion. Especially as we know, repossessions, generally speaking, they go for cheaper amounts. The demand on the grand scheme of things for these types of properties, i.e. repossessed ones, isn't as high as normal residential ones, but savvy investors will always snatch these up. And these investors, because they're savvy, they won't also overpay as well. So if you're not overpaying and you're buying these repossessed houses, then slowly you're going to start to bring down the house prices. Number 4, supply. Now, this is a funny one, because the simple economic truth is if demand increases faster than supply, then prices will rise. But even myself going into development next year and realizing it's probably not the optimum time to be building out 20 units, low-key flex, then we have to be mindful that basic economics may not apply with pandemics and what we're going through in 2020. And this is why I urge you to just be patient, because there are also common lessons and generic information taught by gurus and people on stage saying now's the time to invest and buy their courses and listen to them, because there's no better time to buy than now. Well, I'm going to tell you to hold your horses, subscribe to this channel, watch a few videos and just chill out for a bit, because this isn't a normal scenario or a scenario that any of us have been through. People can talk about 2008, this is completely different. Number 5. Now, without regurgitating the info I've made in these videos and the obvious points like furlough ending and stamp duty coming towards an end in Q1 of 2021, my initial advice to friends and family who rushed to buy residential homes during the last 6 to 12 months was that if you just wait 12 months, you can probably save yourself more on your dream house than the stamp duty saving alone. But at the same time, I kind of understood their urge to try and make that saving. But in my opinion, patience would have been key here, because I truly believe you can make a bigger saving in the house price than the stamp duty. And I also believe that when this ends, the incentive to purchase houses, which are overpriced in my opinion at the minute anyway, will slightly decrease too. However, if they do extend stamp duty by some miracle, or just because they feel this may continue to stimulate the property market, we would have at least been a few months ahead in terms of dealing with the crap and the anxiety and everything we're going through right now, with people's living conditions sadly getting worse on the whole and uncertainty increasingly rising. So will people still have that same enthusiasm? I'm not too sure, but I'd like to maybe hear your thoughts about it in the comments down below. So before I begin my final note, Jerry Springer style, let's talk about Brexit. Good old Brexit, which seems to have been lingering on for years. Has this or will this affect anything I've said above, or just add more crap to the mix? Now, although nobody can say for sure, the Office of the Budgetary Responsibility, the OBR, because it's easier to say, predicted in November that the house prices would fall in Q2 of next year, just as stamp duty reduction will end. Now, their predictions were actually quite accurate, or well, they made them sound very accurate, which was that they believed that at the end of 2021, house prices would drop by 8.3%. They then extended their thoughts to state that it would not pick up for at least another 12 months. So we're looking at the end of 2022. But what I did then is I kind of just did a bit more research into where this come from and where it really stemmed from. And it was actually deemed that they made these conclusions, or guesses shall we call them, because they believed that there was going to be a no-deal scenario, as probably many of us did too. But now we have an agreement on the table, things could potentially end up different. In other words, who knows? But one thing I will say is let's try and prepare for the worst, so at least if we get something better, we can at least be optimistic and grateful for it. Because I still stand by COVID being the biggest effector on the house prices. Even though initially we've seen a crazy little spike, I will continue to bang on the same drum and be happy to be proven wrong, by the way. So if I'm wrong, then that's absolutely fine. But we must recognize we are going through the craziest times. And as with investing in property during any period, the same key principles and common sense advice still applies. And that is patience. We must learn to practice patience. Patience now, if you're an investor, can potentially get you a great deal. Also, patience when buying. If you've already splurged on a property and it's slightly inflated and you're thinking, why didn't I wait? Well, then you need patience more than anyone. You need to sit on that and wait till the market corrects. And with that, that's pretty much all my thoughts were on this manic kind of 2020 and the property market itself. It's been a weird one for myself as well, because we've purchased properties 300 miles away, which you've probably seen the videos for, and I've spoken about this topic many times. And we've also come off the back of a commercial conversion, and we've had valuers literally write COVID impacting their valuation on our side. So I've had some good results and bad results, but I would definitely urge people just to be a little bit more savvy and really try and understand what's going on in as much detail as possible, because nobody really knows. And if we start listening to those Google searches or opinions from people, we could really put ourselves in trouble. So at least with this video, I just hope this gives you some food for thought. If there's something I've said and you need to research it some more to maybe understand it a little bit better, or maybe get a different perspective, then please do that. But if you can be patient, save your money, protect it, look at where you can put it, make sure you're not overspending so you're hit with negative equity somewhere down the future, and know that this is a credible investment. This is something I could sit on for 5, 10, hopefully even longer, because I always look at 10 years plus when I'm investing. Then I think you're going to find 2021 to be a slightly better year than this year. So with that, I wish you all an amazing 2021. I want to thank you all for supporting this channel, and obviously for the comments and the likes and the watching of these videos. And for now, the last time in 2020, let's roll those bloopers. Happy New Year. For some of us to own a home, forcing some You only think of doing it, and this. So before I begin with, so especially also, and what makes it is there are. But once this ends, we. But at the same time, But at the same time, I can't. But at the same time, I kind of understood their urge over market prices. Things could well.